The water looks almost peaceful. A vast, endless blue, light filtering through the surface in slow, trembling columns, casting patterns across the deep like something dreamed. Nothing moves. Nothing makes a sound. And then, something does. A shadow. Long deliberate. Rising from the dark below with the patience of a creature that has never, not once, needed to be afraid. This is not the ocean, you know. This is not a place of wonder and color and silence. This is the Cretaceous. And in the Cretaceous, the ocean does not forgive. Roughly 90 million years ago, the seas covering what is now North America, Europe, and beyond were some of the most dangerous bodies of water this planet has ever produced. Warm. Shallow in places. Teeming with life, and with death. Every creature in these waters, no matter how large, no matter how fast, lived under a single ruthless law: you are never the only predator in the water. Not the biggest. Not the fastest. Not even the most ancient. The food chain here was not a ladder. It was a web, tangled, shifting, with no fixed top and no guaranteed bottom. What ruled the surface feared the depths. What dominated the shallows was prey in the open water. And the creatures that dared to hunt alone often became the reason others learned to travel in groups. No one was safe. And the ocean made certain of that. Picture them first, sleek, torpedo-shaped, built like something between a dolphin and a nightmare. The ichthyosaurs. By the early Cretaceous, they had already ruled these waters for over 150 million years. They were ancient before ancient meant anything. They moved in pulses, powerful tail strokes driving them through open water at speeds few animals could match. Their eyes, enormous compared to their skull, caught the faintest glimmer of light at depth, locking onto squid and fish with mechanical precision. A school of ammonite spirals upward from below. The ichthyosaur doesn't hesitate. It accelerates. Jaws close. The crunch is felt more than heard. They were warm-blooded, likely fast-metabolizing hunters that needed to eat constantly to fuel their speed. Some species dove to extraordinary depths, chasing prey into near-total darkness using those massive eyes like biological sonar. They gave birth to live young, not on land, but mid-water, the calves entering the ocean already shaped for survival. But even the ichthyosaur kept one eye on the dark. Because the dark had eyes too. And in the Cretaceous, experience was no armor against what hunted alongside you. Somewhere shallower, near the reef, where the water turns green and warm and thick with suspended life, something long moves with impossible grace. The plesiosaur. Neck stretched like a question mark, for flippers rowing it through the water column with slow, hypnotic sweeps. This is not a sprinter. This is a strategist. It doesn't chase. It drifts upward beneath a school of fish without disturbing so much as a current, then, strikes. Neck extending in a single explosive motion, needle-thin teeth combing through the water, closing around nothing and everything at once. Some plesiosaurs were small. Some were not. The long-necked varieties, the elasmosaurids, could reach over 10 meters in total length, their necks alone accounting for half of that. Scientists have found stomach contents preserved in fossils, small fish, cephalopods, sometimes gravel, likely swallowed to aid in buoyancy control. These were not mindless killers. They were calculated ones. They understood their environment the way only a long-lived animal can, through repetition, through pattern, through the accumulated knowledge of 100 successful hunts. They were patient hunters in a world that punished patience. Because staying still, anywhere, for any length of time, was an invitation. And something always accepted. Before the mosasaurs dominated. Before anything became truly king. The sharks were already here. Not the great whites you know from modern nightmares, those are children by comparison. The sharks of the Cretaceous were older, stranger, more varied. Cretoxorina. The Ginsu shark. Nearly 6 meters long, built like a blade given purpose, swimming in the shallow inland seas with the calm efficiency of something that has never once rethought its design. It hunts by pressure change, by the disruption of water, the vibration of a struggling fish 50 meters ahead. It doesn't see its prey first. It feels it. By the time the prey registers the threat, the shark is already inside striking distance. Fossil evidence tells us Cretaceous fed on large prey, including mosasaurs. Bite marks preserved in bone, the unmistakable arc of serrated teeth pressed into something that, in life, was itself enormous. The sharks of the Cretaceous did not distinguish between the vulnerable and the powerful. They distinguished between close enough and not yet. A juvenile mosasaur breaks the surface, twisting, writhing. A shadow rises. The water turns red. Even apex predators start somewhere. And before they reach their size, before they grow into the monsters this ocean fears, they are prey. The Cretaceous seas understood irony, even if nothing living in them did. And then there are the mosasaurs. If the Cretaceous ocean had a king, or rather, several kings, each terrifying, each competing, it was them. Mosasaurs were not fish. They were not sharks. They were lizards. Marine lizards, descended from land-dwelling ancestors, who returned to the sea and became, in evolutionary terms, one of the most successful decisions nature ever made. They varied wildly. Some were sleek pursuit predators, built for open water, cutting through the blue like living arrows. Others were ambush hunters, heavier, slower, lying motionless near the seafloor or the shadow of a reef, waiting for the moment the water changed above them. Tylosaurus. Over 12 meters long. A ram-shaped snout used to stun and disable prey before the jaws even opened. It didn't need to bite clean. It needed to hit hard. Fossils of Tylosaurus have been found with the remains of other mosasaurs, sharks, and large fish inside them, a menu that speaks less to preference and more to dominance. Everything was a potential meal. The only question was proximity. Prognathodon. Jaws reinforced for crushing, capable of shattering the shells of turtles, of ammonites, of anything that dared carry armor into this ocean. Because armor was not protection here. Armor was just a puzzle. And mosasaurs had millions of years to get good at puzzles. Now. Late afternoon, if such a thing exists beneath the surface, if the shifting color of filtered light can be called anything as civilized as time. A large plesiosaur feeds near the surface. Unhurried. It hasn't sensed anything wrong. The water is warm. The fish are abundant. There is no reason, right now, to be afraid. It doesn't notice that the current has changed. It doesn't notice that 60 meters below, something has stopped moving. A mosasaur. Ancient. Scarred. Longer than most creatures alive in this ocean, longer than most creatures that will ever be alive. It hangs in the darkness without breathing, without needing to, for now, and watches. The plesiosaur's four flippers move in slow rhythm against the light above. The silhouette is clear. The distance is closing. The mosasaur moves. Not slowly. Not with the patient drift of the plesiosaur. It moves the way an ending moves, fast, total, without hesitation. The water shudders. The plesiosaur turns, finally registering something wrong, finally understanding what the stillness beneath it actually meant, too late. The impact is concussive. The bite is catastrophic. What was, seconds ago, one of the ocean's great predators is now something smaller than it used to be. The mosasaur turns in the water, unhurried now, and descends back into the dark. It will be hungry again soon. The surface smooths. The light falls back through the water, indifferent. Fish return. The reef exhales into motion. Life continues, because life has no other setting, no pause, no morning, no moment of reflection between the dying of one thing and the hunting of the next. This is what the Cretaceous seas were. Not a prehistoric paradise. Not a simpler time. They were a machine, endlessly cycling through predator and prey, through giant and giant killer, through the rise and sudden violent end of things that had no word for fear but understood it completely. The ichthyosaurs would eventually vanish, gone before the mass extinction, outlasted by the world they had helped shape. The plesiosaurs would survive to the very end, paddling through seas that grew stranger and more dangerous with every passing million years. The sharks, as they always do, would endure, barely changed, barely bothered, indifferent to extinction events the way only something truly ancient can be. And the mosasaurs, the last kings of this ocean, would reign until the sky changed and the world went quiet. Until the asteroid wrote an ending even they couldn't outswim. In less than a geological heartbeat, the seas emptied of their giants. The niches they left behind would take millions of years to fill again. Nothing would ever quite replace them. Not in shape. Not in scale. Not in the particular brand of terror they represented. But for 25 million years, they ruled. And in those 25 million years, not one creature in the Cretaceous seas ever truly rested. Not one ever surfaced without risk. Not one ever dove without the understanding, bone deep, instinct deep, that something below was watching. That the darkness was not empty. That silence, down here, was never safe. In the Cretaceous, the ocean was not a place you lived in. It was a place you survived. Until you didn't.